Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Michael, an Optimism community member and delegate, and I just wanted to do a really quick overview going through Optimism Season 5 governance. I know that there was a lot of confusion around Season 4 because so many different moving parts were introduced, so I want to do this video to help everybody contextualize all of the new additions in Season 5 and also all of the changes from Season 4. Also, I'm going to be covering all of the ways that you can get involved as a delegate or Optimism governance member. Real quick, before we get into Season 5, let's look at the retro rewards for Season 4. Any delegate in the top 100 by voting power would qualify for these retro rewards, which is a change from the 0.25% requirement that we've had in past seasons. And it looks like this top 100 delegate by voting power requirement is going to be kind of the main criteria for actual delegates going forward. So if you were a top 100 delegate, you got retro rewards based on 3 different categories, each with their own amount. Those categories were voting in over 70% of the votes, participating in the reflection period, and supporting missions by offering mission approvals. So another new thing for Season 5 is that they actually put out a list of potential impactful activities that could potentially be used as criteria for retro rewards. The main things that are similar to last season but were changed slightly are intents, missions, and the role of the Grants Council. So just as a review, intents align Optimism governance on the specific goals for that season. Any missions that are given grants would fall under one of these intents. Last season's intents were technical decentralization, innovate on novel applications. We had a community intent, which was basically grow the number of users on Optimism, and governance accessibility. This season, we still have decentralization and governance accessibility as intents, but we have a new intent, which is grow the superchain. And once again, we will have a community suggested intent. So going into a little bit more detail, intent number 1 is the progress towards decentralization. It's worth noting that this was highlighted as the most important intent for Season 4, and it is also highlighted as the most important intent for Season 5. Each intent laid out by the Foundation has a measurement criteria and also some example missions. So for intent 1, that would be the stage of technical decentralization, which you can read more about, and the client implementation diversity, and a number of example missions, including a few on decentralized sequencing. Intent number 2 is growing the number of developers across the entire superchain. This is a fun one because it marks the beginning of Optimism governance branching out to help grow the entire superchain. Intent number 3 will be set by the community, and I highly recommend that you participate in setting this intent, both on the forums, and there will be a workshop within a few days of me posting this video. Contributing to the discussion around this intent is potentially a criteria for the retro delegate rewards, but it's also just really important for governance overall, as we'll be putting real money behind this intent. Intent number 4 is the same as last season, and that involves improving governance accessibility. Basically, the measurements are the amount of OP that is actually delegated to delegates, along with the amount of OP that shows up for votes on governance proposals. So as far as how the funding will be deployed for these intents, this will happen with missions just like last season. Missions are specific requests for grants that fall under one of those 4 intents, but the process is actually much different this season than last season. Instead of alliances proposing their own missions, the top 100 delegates will be proposing something called mission requests. These are some requests for some mission that will help improve intents, but are not associated with the team. A mission request, for example, could be to create a new user interface that helps Optimism users choose a delegate in a fun way. There will be a period of time where the top 100 delegates are able to suggest these mission requests. Each mission request needs 4 other approvals by other top 100 delegates, and then they go to a vote by the token house, which ranks them. So an example of a good mission request is create the governance v3 contract for Optimism, but a bad one would be fund governance infrastructure for 3 months, because it's ongoing. So after these mission requests are approved, there will be a period open for mission applications. This is done by teams, which is the new word for alliances that we used last season, and each application will fall under a mission request and be reviewed by the Grants Council. Some mission requests will have space for multiple teams to achieve the mission, and others will just have space for one. So just to review the timeline, voting cycles will be 3 weeks long this season, and we will have 6 voting cycles. In cycle 17, the mission requests will be put forward and then also approved by fellow delegates. Those requests will be rank voted in cycle 18, and in cycles 19 through 22, teams will be able to put forward mission proposals to fulfill those mission requests. So for the Grants Council, just like last season, there will be votes on the overall budget and the council lead, and then a cycle of votes for each of the members, which means that you can actually apply to be a Grants Council reviewer. The nominations are open right now, so go ahead and fill that out if you're interested. The Grants Council lead will be the one setting the budgets for each specific intent, and as a whole, the Grants Council is the entity that is approving mission applications. Other changes this season are some slight modifications to the trust tiers, and also there will be on-chain attestations for each of the categories that you see on the screen. So in addition to those modifications from things that were introduced last season, there are also a number of new concepts introduced in Season 5. Those things are the Security Council, the Developer Advisory Board, the Chain Delegation Program, the AntiCapture Commission, and the Code of Conduct Council. The goal of the Security Council is to turn the admin keys for OP mainnet and eventually all OP chains in the superchain over to a public, decentralized set of individual actors accountable to Optimism governance. This is a big deal because this is a major step in the foundation relinquishing control over the network and Optimism becoming truly decentralized. It's a big topic, and so there are a lot more details in the charter, but basically it will start with a phase 0 in which the foundation and the Security Council each control one key, and both will need to sign off on any upgrades. The Security Council will be appointed by the Foundation, but you can basically expect them to be big players in Ethereum and L2 ecosystems. And there will be 3 token house votes this season relating to the Security Council. The first is to approve this idea of a Security Council in general. The second is to approve the initial member list, which is appointed by the Foundation. And the third is to actually upgrade the chain in order to enact these changes. Another new concept is the Developer Advisory Board. This group is also appointed by the Foundation, and its purpose is to basically serve as a technical expertise for this season. They will assess mission requests on their technical merits, help the Grants Council specifically with regards to intent number 1, decentralization, and help the Grants Council evaluate technical milestones. This will have to be ratified by the token house, and there will be 1 non-voting OP Labs rep, 1 lead, and 5 normal members on the board. The other new thing is the Chain Delegation Program, which delegates up to 10 million OP tokens to various chains in the OP stack. This is a way to give a voice in Optimism governance to these chains that are a key part of the Optimism ecosystem. Basically, the way it works is that the first 10 OP chains to meet the criteria and exceed 10 ETH in revenue are added to the program. Here are some of the specific criteria that are needed to become an OP stack chain. One other new addition is the AntiCapture Commission. The AntiCapture Commission will be made up of a group of independent delegates in Optimism governance. And as a group, they will be delegated 10 million OP for voting. This commission was made to balance the influence from organizations and prevent specific organizations from capturing OP governance by getting too many votes. Those 10 million delegated votes will vote in alignment with a majority vote of those member delegates. To be a member of the AntiCapture Commission, you have to be an individual that is not representing a protocol. You have to be within the top 100 delegates and have 70% participation since you first started voting. You also have to have received retro rewards in some way, which could be retro delegate rewards or rewards for work such as being on the Grants Council. The leads of the other commissions will also be invited to be on the AntiCapture Commission, and the AntiCapture Commission will select its own lead to organize meetings and things like that. If you meet the criteria to be on the AntiCapture Commission, your responsibilities will be to attend office hours, give approvals to at least 10% of missions, or a reason why you're not approving them. And like I said, there will be a lead for the commission, and the commission also has the ability to elect other roles. While there is no OP stipend specifically stated for the AntiCapture Commission, it is likely that these criteria will be a part of retroactive rewards for delegates. Another addition to the season is the Code of Conduct Council, which takes over Code of Conduct enforcement from the Foundation. This, along with the Governance Council, are the 2 elected councils where you can self-nominate yourself to be a member. It will be made up of 1 lead and 5 members, and there will be a 3K OP stipend per member. The members will be elected in voting cycle 16B, and nominations must be done before then. And the members of this actually cannot be badge holders, and they must complete the Gravity DAO conflict resolution training. So, some ways that you should get involved right now are to start contributing ideas for intent number 3, provide feedback to all of these things that we discussed because they're not yet ratified, and it's definitely possible that we can make changes to them before they actually go to a vote. You can self-nominate yourself to be on either the Grants Council or the Code of Conduct Council. And of course, you should come to the community calls, which I put on every 2 weeks. You should also definitely review the aligned activities for season 5 that was put out by the Foundation and put your effort to any of these that make sense to you. So thank you so much for watching. This video was really aimed at delegates, but if you don't want to be a delegate, of course, I'm accepting delegations. And if you have any questions at all, you should post them in the Discord under the governance channels, or feel free to DM me on the forums. Thanks for watching and stay optimistic.